always say that there's a lot of opportunity in everything that's out there. Think about this. When we get a listing, right? You sign a listing contract first before you sign an actual contract to go into escrow. So think if we could do the same thing with a buyer. I'm gonna sign a contract first, and then I'm gonna work on signing another contract to put them into escrow. So it's almost like a guarantee. When you sign a listing and you price it right, what is that? It's a deal. You know it's a deal. It's the same thing. If you have a good buyer and you pre-qualify them right, and they sign your BCA, it's a good deal for you. But the good thing with this is that you're not gonna take those buyers that are not gonna be loyal to you and have to drive them all over the place, right? Only those that are loyal to you. So that allows us more time to do what?
Prospect?
Prospect. It will allow you more time to actually prospect, okay? So becoming listing dominant, there's a lot of, great opportunity in becoming listing dominant. What are the top 3 reasons why listing dominant agents love being listing dominant? Give me the top 3.
You can predict your own income?
That's a good one.
For wanting to list,
To
for
becoming listing dominant. I want to become prospecting machine.
people come to you, it's kind of like not less work, but you know that you're in control more.
Uh-huh. Well, you are in control because those that control the listings control our market, right? When you have the contract, you have a buyer, you're asking them for, hey, you're trying to get them to say yes to you, right? So they have the control. But here's the top 3 in talking to the majority of my listing agents. Number 1, they have better quality of life. I want you to think about this. Better quality of life, better time to spend with your family. Why? Because when you're working with buyers, where are you at all weekends, every weekend? Showing them. While your family is going to birthday parties, family events. Without you. So I want you to think about that. The majority of people that are very listing dominant love the fact that they have more control and a better quality of their life. So they're prospecting when they're time blocking. During that time, they're working on prospecting, but they don't have to say, hey, I'm gonna go drive you up to Victorville and go show you 4 or 5 houses this weekend while the rest of my family is having a carne asada with whoever, okay? Think about that. I think that's a big one, to be honest with you. Number 2, a lot less competition. Uli says, 1 in 10 real estate professionals consider themselves a listing dominant agent. 1 in 10. That means that the majority of their time spent is prospecting. 9 out of 10 consider themselves or will work with the majority buyers. So where's your competition at? Remember, there's always a seller and a buyer to every transaction. But if there's only 1 listing dominant agent and 9 buyers agents, who am I really going to be competing with?
The other 9 are working for you.
So I have a lot less competition. So again, if I'm becoming listing dominant, I'm going to be making sure that I am one of the elite, one of the 1 in 10. But the number 1 reason with my clientele, which is something we're going to be talking about over there, is that the listing dominant agent that is always prospecting, I want you to think about this, that is always prospecting, runs into investor-friendly deals. I want you to think about that. When you are a listing machine and you're constantly prospecting, you run into sellers that have a need and have a short window to sell their property, therefore making it an investor-friendly transaction. And those deals pay a lot more than just a commission. Am I right or wrong?
And without less, headaches and.
So I always say this, with 10 deals, the majority of people, when I say with 10 deals, how much money can you make?
80 plus?
That's the number that I usually get. I say, but what if, I want you to think about this, what if within those 10, in the course of a year, you find 3 investor-friendly transactions that equal to $100,000 in income alone? Just 3. And the rest are commission-based. So now, with 10 deals, you can make $200,000. Think about that. Not a lot of deals. It doesn't take a lot of deals when you're an investment-minded person to actually go out and find these deals. So first I'm looking for listings, but if I'm talking to you, depending on who I'm talking to, you could be an investor-friendly transaction. And if you are an investor-friendly transaction, you find the deal, you say, hey, Hugo, I got a really good one for you. But I want to double end it and I want the listing back when you go to flip it.
What does that mean, double ending?
Double ending means that you
wanna
list
represent
it,
the buyer.
you represent the buyer, and then you triple end it means that once I fix it up and sell it, I give you the listing back. So one transaction really gives you 3 deals, right? This is what we find when we're becoming listing dominant, when our minds think a little bit different. This is why people make a lot of money in this business. So when I, as a title rep, say, you know what, when I got in this business over 30 years ago, guess what I did? I door knocked. I door knock. All I did was door knock, 8 hours a day, door knock. And guess what? I started to come across sellers, right? Because that's what I was looking for, sellers. But then something started to happen. I started coming across people that were like in trouble financially, notice of defaults, elders that the house was a wreck, wanted to sell. These deals were investor-friendly deals. So what would I do is I would run back to the office, I would talk to the investors, and I'd be like, yeah, I got a deal over here. Well, let's go look at it. We'd go look at it, and then they'd go make an offer right there and then guess what? I only made the commission. Now, when I say I only made the commission, I double-ended the deal. And at the time, I was happy. I was happy for that because I found the deal. But then I started to realize what?
They could have given you the listing back.
And then after that,
Maybe I could buy it myself.
Thank you. That's how I started buying real estate. So I got out of real estate a long time ago because I became an investor, because I started finding real estate. This is what it is to become listing dominant, when you're focused on looking for sellers. Okay? So now, extraordinary results come from the decisions we make and the actions we take. So you got to make the decision. Am I really going to focus on sellers? Is that going to be my motivation? It's going to be my go-to. Am I going to time block every single day, right? Am I going to time block every single day to prospect? Because if you ask people to prospect and they're like, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. You know what? You can make a lot of money by doing nothing right now. I see it all over the place on social media, right? And you say like, really? Okay, well, I beg to differ, because I have a lot of clients that are very, very high-ended clients that are prospecting all the time, looking for deals, looking for transactions, right? So you got to make that decision that that's the type of person that you want to be. How old are you right now?
42.
42. Holy shit, man.
Dude, you look
I told him, I'm like,
20.
dude, you look like you're 21.
Holy shit. That's
What did I
crazy.
tell you? I'm like,
I just turned 42.
Really?
I've had
Hey.
a rough life.
You know what? I'm eating. I'm going to the gym. I'm going to go to the sauna. But what
I wanna be like Cesar,
what do
man.
you
Don't ask me what I'm eating. Pizza.
I know. Hey, but here's the crazy
That's
thing. I thought he was so much younger too. So me, when I got started, when I was 19 years old. So when I was 19 years old, trust me, I had nothing else to do but to door knock. Nothing. We didn't have social media back then. We didn't have anything at all that was gonna be different. What's up, boss?
How you doing?
So in reality, what is it that you want out of this business, right? The majority of us get into this business for what? What did you originally, when you first thought about getting your license, why? Why did you say, oh, I'm gonna get my license?
I worked 19 years in the same company, and they make us work a lot of overtime. And at some point we were working 6 days a week. And during pandemic was one of those times, and I was tired, and every time I requested a day off, they were like, why do you need it? You know that we were busy. You know that we were having so much overtime that you guys not gonna be approved for days. And it was like, I started getting annoyed by that. I was like, why do I have every single day that I need? I had to explain why did I miss the day.
So then you decided to go
I'm
into it.
tired. I was like,
Good.
I said,
How about you? Why did you get your real estate license?
For me, something similar, but more important, start investing in
See?
and creating a portfolio.
And I am glad you mentioned that, because 9 out of 10 people that get the real estate license, in the back of their mind, they want the investment part. They don't think like, oh my God, I can't wait to work 16-hour days just driving people up and down, showing property. That's what I wanna do for a living. They don't think that. They think the investment part, right? That's why when I said the top 3 things to becoming a listing dominant agent, number 1, right, quality of life. Number 2, less competition. But number 3 was we can find the investment deals, the deals. And that's ultimate,
Open the light bulb.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what we like to do here. We want to make sure that we flip it on so that you can start thinking like, oh my God, this is what it's all about. People get into this business and they fail to remember why they got into this business. And they get in this rat race all of a sudden, right? Trying to find a deal, chasing a deal down. You've got to get out of that rat race and let's get back into becoming listing dominant. Okay? Most agents leverage to local neighborhoods. Remember, when people say, oh, go door knock, right? What do? Well, I'm gonna go to this neighborhood and I'm gonna go door to door to door to door. I'm gonna go door knock, right? The way I did it 30 years ago, I would start in this corner, I would knock on every door, get to the corner across the street, knock on every door back. But what's the problem with doing that? The problem with doing that is that we are talking to homeowners that are turning over at 2.9%. What does that mean in my real estate world? That means
Less activity, less people move.
3 in every 100 people, in every 100 homes are gonna be selling within the next year. That's why people get tired of door knocking. They're like, this don't work. I'm tired of this. I'm getting, nobody's answering the door. I'm getting bad people, talking back to me, all this good stuff. But there's no opportunity there. So when you have all these days lined up, eventually you stop. You slow down and then you stop, right? So this is how we did business 30 years ago, but you still have realtors that are doing business like that today. And that's what we have to get away from. Because right now we have data, we have technology, right? There's certain drivers in our current market now that will fill up the bank account in many ways, right? So who are the drivers in our current market? Who's the driving our market? Well, I'm looking for homeowners with more than 20% turnover. That means 20 in every 100 are gonna actually close within the next year. 20. So could you imagine the difference in conversations that you're having now? If, 2 in 10 are gonna have a good conversation because I know that there's a need there to sell. There's a reason why you're gonna have to sell. Whereas instead of 2 in 10, the regular agent talks to 2 in every 100. A big difference there, a huge difference. So when we become listing dominant and listing minded, we target certain homeowners now, right? We start focusing and driving our business through these particular drivers and the action that we take. Because you see this, did everybody do a business plan this year?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, you didn't do a business plan?
No.
Okay. Do you have a goal for this year? Did you think about a goal maybe?
The problem with me, I'm still working,
Mhm.
so I just need to get through, this property sale, and after that, then I'm going to start full-time, in
It's
real
not a
estate.
problem because you know the solution, right? So you're gonna do well. In our business, we all do business planning, and I'm sure you're gonna eventually start doing them. And we all think of a goal. But that goal that we think about, where do we get it from? You go like, kind of like what you just did. You look
Social
like this.
media,
You're like, oh,
television.
I can make this much money, and you write it down. It's really just a dream, right? But in reality, unless you focus on the drivers, which we're gonna talk about, and the action, which are gonna determine the outcome of the goal, okay? So if I say I wanna make $500,000, well, I have to know how am I gonna make $500,000. I can just say I'm gonna door knock a lot, right? I can't just say I'm gonna cold call a lot, because I don't even know what $500,000 looks like, speaking on it. So a lot of us make goals at the beginning of the year, but guess where those goals are now?
gone.
They're in our rearview mirror, because you already feel I'm already I'm far gone from there. You know what, I don't even wanna think about that number that I threw at the beginning of the year. So, absolutely right, you gotta live the part of what you chose. And you know what, by going and becoming listing dominant and doing the things that you have to do, you know and you understand, there's no days off from what I'm gonna achieve. There's no, if you, for instance, that you were working too many hours, if you dedicate that same amount of time into our industry, could you imagine
You would kill
what
it.
you would do, right? Don't think of it as, oh, I'm gonna work less now. No, because we're in a different world now. Now you make yourself wealthy. Forget about the other people. Make yourself wealthy. So I'm gonna focus on the 20% plus turnover. Okay? Who is that when I talk about the 20% turnovers? Number one, write them down. Notice the defaults. Notice the trustee sales. People that are financially in distress. They're losing their homes. And guess what this right here, this particular seller is? This is number one, a listing, or number two, it's an investment friendly seller.
Yeah.
You know those deals that I say that you could stumble across and make some more money than just a regular commission? Guess what? Here's one of those sellers here. And if over 20% of these particular homeowners are selling, why would I want to target door to door to door to door when I know I have a list of these people, right? Or I could get a list of these people. Now, just in the surrounding cities, what we're finding is your typical city, I think Riverside has like 80 notice of default filings right now. Corona's, I think, at 50 notice of default, active notice of default.
So we have a list of
You
those
can
notice
get
of
a list
default, and
from-
then we just go door knocking? to
Correct,
them
and I'm gonna
saying
get
it?
into that
Oh,
right now.
okay.
So we use Title Toolbox, which we will share with you guys how to actually get it on a one-on-one, how to get the data.
Mhm.
So you grab the data, right? And yes, very simple. You knock on the door of a notice of default. Hey neighbor, got a minute? What city do you live in?
Alhambra.
Alhambra. So let's say you're knocking in Alhambra. Knock on the door. Hey neighbor, got a minute? My name's Hugo. I'm with Big Block Realty. Just wanted to stop by because we just sold a property, or a property just sold here in the neighborhood for top dollar. And I was just wondering, for the right price, would you consider selling yours? It's that simple.
Because at this point, they haven't paid their.
They're delinquent.
They don't know, that you know their situation,
Yeah.
and you're just
Oh,
gonna
they
let
don't
them.
know we know?
Correct.
So let's say even if they do, but here's the thing, I don't have my hand in their pocket and they all have their guard up.
Correct.
So if I come saying, hey neighbor, got a minute? So now they're like, okay, who's this? You know, that's.
Because they're probably, if people do that,
Well, they
it's
already
a
got
strategy,
it.
there's people that are knocking periodically or frequently.
So when I talk about investment friendly, so
Mhm.
let's just role play, since
Mhm.
there's just a few of us here, I'll keep it. Hey neighbor, got a minute?
No?
No, you know what, I'll just be quick. You know, I just
Okay.
was wondering because, you know, my name is Hugo, I'm with Big Block Realty, and we actually just sold, or there was a property sold here in the area, actually for top dollar. I was just wondering, for the right price, would you consider selling yours?
Maybe.
Maybe.
You said you were from where?
I'm with Big Block Realty.
Okay.
So you are thinking about selling it?
I'm a little bit behind on my payments.
Oh, you
so
are?
I'm in a
Wow.
pickle.
Okay, great. So let me ask you this. How, if you don't mind me asking, you know, how far behind are you right now?
6 months.
6 months. Have you gotten any notifications from the bank yet?
Yes.
You do. Do you mind if I take a look at them? That way I can see how much time you have left?
Okay.
Yeah?
Sure.
I just
Come
made
on
the
in.
appointment. She was easy. right?
Okay.
But let's just say this. Let's just say you do what the majority of people say. They tell me no.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right?
no, I'm current. I spoke with the bank. It's already taken care of.
Ah, that's great. That's great. You know what? What I can do, Lisa, well, or neighbor, hey neighbor. So that's great. You know what? But I'm also working with a group of investors that are looking to purchase property here in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And they're willing to pay all cash for the property. Do you mind if we were to make you an express all cash offer on your property?
Do I have to pay commissions?
No. Or we could tie it all into the deal.
Okay.
There's different reasons. But see, this is the difference when it's an investment friendly seller. Because the majority of real estate professionals, the minute he says no, they say, thank you, here's my information, and they walk away. But I know he's in distress. So I'm gonna wait to see what he tells me first when I say, for the right price, would you consider selling? If he tells me straight out no, I'm gonna bring out the investor card, right? But let's say he says like what she said, well, maybe. then I won't mention a cash offer, I'll go into that spiel. But if he straight out tells me, no, I'm gonna throw in that investment part.
What is
Why?
this? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
And why would I do that? Because they have to sell.
Yeah.
And then a notice of default, there's certain degrees of motivation. If it's a brand new notice of default, right, a brand new filing, they still got 3 months before they will actually go to sale.
Correct.
So if I'm catching you at the beginning of
Motivation is very, very little.
yeah, they're trying to figure out what options they have. But if I know through my documents that you're already at the latter part, oh, you're gonna wanna listen to my cash offer, right? And then you call the investor, they say, yes, you know what, I would be interested in it.
So how would we have that conversation to where you found the listing, I'm the cash investor, just so that our agents could listen to
So
it?
very simple.
All right, here we go.
So let's just say that you tell me, yeah, you know, I am interested in it. And
Okay.
obviously somebody that maybe is not that aware of what price do I even ask, right? There's a script to it. Great. Why don't we do this? You know, I don't mind. If you don't mind, I can take a look at the property, do a quick run through. I'm gonna run back to my office, I'm gonna run some numbers. And then what we will do is once I run some numbers, because I wanna make sure that this transaction is gonna be fair for both you and us. So I'm gonna put some numbers together. When do you have time for me to come back and revisit with you?
Tomorrow afternoon is fine?
Perfect. Let's go ahead and tomorrow I'll bring the offer with me. Something that's gonna be fair for both you and me.
Sounds good.
So I don't have to give you a price right there and then. The cool thing is that if once I get good at it, I could sit there and I'll negotiate the deal right there and then. Because let me tell you, in this business, the person that gets to that negotiating table first wins. Period.
You don't have to be the best, just be the first.
Be the first. That's why you have a lot of different people. Wholesalers, they don't have licenses. They're just there giving offers. So they're trying to be the first to that negotiating table, right?
Mm.
So I gotta see who's in front of me and what's their degree of
Motivation.
If it's a latter part of a notice of default that, hey, this guy's got less than 2-3 weeks, or he's got 2-3 weeks to sell, he's gonna have to sell. So let's say he tells me no again to my cash offer.
Okay, so no, I mean, I'm not in a hurry, I'm not in a desperate situation,
Yeah.
but thank you though.
You know what? I totally understand, neighbor. You know, why don't we do this? I don't mind. Why don't I take your number down? Let me still send you the offer that I have in mind. That way you could have it in your back pocket. So if you do decide to sell, you'll know how much we're willing to offer you. Is that
Sure,
fair?
is there any obligation?
Not at all.
Sure,
Then at least I got his number, right?
and we can follow up.
One of my questions I was gonna ask you, when you fall behind payments and you go into notice of default, it's a standard 3 months to pay back or sell, or does it?
So when they file a notice of default, when it
Mhm.
actually gets recorded, you got 3 months
Okay.
to actually bring the account current, come to some kind of an agreement with the bank,
Mhm.
or pay it off.
Okay,
And then after those 3 months, if none of those things happen, they file a notice of trustee sale that has then a date
Oh, okay.
attached to it typically. And the date
For the
is usually
sale.
about 2.5 weeks after.
oh, okay, but we wanna get them in the 3 months,
Oh, we
because
wanna
after
get
the
them.
3 months, then it's, we can't really do nothing.
No,
with
sure
it.
you can,
Oh, we
for
could-
cash you can.
For cash, if we have a cash
But see,
buyer.
that's what I'm saying. The majority of our industry will go once or twice at the beginning when they're not
Yeah,
not
they're
motivated,
not
and
pressured.
they stop going. But remember, we're aggressive. We got goals. Like Chris was saying, we got goals all the way up here that I can't. I don't want to return my watch. I got big goals. I got to go back. This person is gonna have to do something, and I want to make sure that it's with me, right?
Mhm.
Until I get them to say, you know what? Yes. I mean, I have people that be like, you know, get out of my lawn. Blah blah blah. Okay, I'll be back next week. I'll see you later. And they come back next week because they're aggressive that way, right?
Yeah,
So think about that the next time that you're not so aggressive and you're just being passive and you're just looking for a transaction. When you're actually focused and you're listing dominant, we get a lot more aggressive with what we do. So
Mhm.
again, notice of defaults is an investment friendly seller, okay?
okay.
Izzy, did you send that to me? We'll put it on one that is. Now, next, number 2, affidavit of death. Affidavit of death recordings. People that have passed away that are on title.
Okay,
Okay, another investment friendly seller. So when somebody passes away and they're on title, usually you have hardship. right? And if it's a surviving spouse, you're gonna have a surviving spouse that has hardship. Maybe they can't keep the house for long enough. So it's great for listings, right? But it's also investor friendly. Why? Because what if they were elders and it's the kids that filed that affidavit of death and they're just gonna sell it? They got the inheritance and they're just gonna sell it. And guess what? The majority of kids that inherit something like that, what do they want right away?
Money.
Money?
Money talks. So I'm gonna knock on that door again. Hey neighbor, you got a minute?
Sure.
Just wanted to stop by because there was a property that was just sold here in the neighborhood for top dollar. Just wondering if for the right price, you guys consider selling yours?
We don't know yet. I think we're gonna keep it, even though he knows the situation. What would you say after that?
Well, great. I mean, it's a great neighborhood, obviously. But let me ask you this, because I do work with a group of investors and we're actually looking to purchase property here, all cash on these properties.
How soon can you guys close?
It depends on how fast you want to close.
I mean, if I decide, can you guys do a quick sale? Or do I have to pay commissions?
No, we could wrap it all up in the deal. We would be fine.
There it is.
So the whole thing is this, don't take the no
That's
and
it.
walk away if you know it's an investor friendly seller. Because the majority of the people are bothered and they might want to just get away from you at the moment, right? But I know, man, if this sucker doesn't list with me, he's gonna list with somebody else. So why am I gonna walk away?
You just said something very true, that most homeowners know that realtors are terrified of the word no. So if I tell them no, they'll leave. So what am I gonna say? No, I'm fine. Well, whatever your situation is, no, I'm caught up. I'm fine, I'm gonna keep the house. They know that we are horrible when it comes to learning our scripts. So I'm gonna throw you one objection so that you can fall apart and leave. But if you're good at your scripts, you know how to overcome simple objections, you have plan A, B, and C, you're gonna say, fantastic, well, hey, if you change your mind, would you be okay with maybe a cash offer within 24 to 48 hours?
Absolutely. The whole thing is this, you understand their motivation. Now, does everybody that files an affidavit of death sell?
No.
No. But guess what? About 30% of them do. A lot more than the 2.9% that we were talking about earlier, right? So I want you guys to think about us working a little smarter. This business is an easy business if we just stick to a game plan, a process, and stick to it day in and day out, right? With the big goals that we have in mind, keeps us going. And when you're having better conversations with these homeowners, guess what? It motivates you to keep coming back because you feel like you're this close to getting that deal. Now, another thing I want to add to what I was saying, when we're door knocking with these people, notice the default, an affidavit of death. These are investor-friendly sellers, right? When I door knock them, I'm gonna do a single-sided postcard, right? I'll give you an example, something like this. So let's say on this side, if it was something that I sold or something from my team sold, I'll leverage it, right? Or let's just say it's an open house. How many of you guys have open houses? I'll leverage the open house on this side. But when I knock on the door, because remember, only 1 or 2 in 10 will answer the door. But 5 or 6 in 10 have the ring, right?
Oh, I know what you mean.
So what you do is you ring that doorbell, take a step back, and you start writing. Hey neighbor, the reason I stopped by was we just sold a property in the area for top dollar, or if you just want to do the cash, because remember, hey neighbor, the reason I stopped by was I'm interested in purchasing property all cash. Please call me today, let you know the price I have in mind. Call me.
How
Drop
many
it off.
agents do that?
Drop it off, boom. And what happens? They saw you writing them a personal note. You don't think they're gonna be like, what did they want? You're like,
They're inside the
grab it.
house.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, people just wanna drop off, this or packets or, there's nothing more powerful than calling for an all cash offer, right?
Now, do you get like stickies or what do you do? Like,
No, on a postcard. Single-sided postcard, so you do just one side, and then you write on this side. You could even do them when you're at home,
Like
yeah,
pretend.
do like 20 of them and then you just act like you're doing them. Rather than, people knock on doors and they look all suspicious, like looking this way, you know, right? And then everybody's like, oh, watch out, this guy's on the prowl, you know.
And now you're all over social media for all
Right,
the
you
wrong
see that?
reasons.
But you know what?
Oh, yeah.
But there's nothing better than knocking on the door, taking a step back, writing them a simple note, and dropping it off and walking away. If they answer, beautiful, you give them the script. If they don't answer, beautiful, you give them a powerful postcard to drop off.
Now,
With for them, you know, plan to, they have to take action, right? Phone call, hey, you know what, you dropped this off at the house, yes, we are interested in selling, what offer did you have in mind?
now you mentioned something about NOD packages, because that's what I used to do.
Mhm.
I used to prepare NODs or NOS packets, and I would include a letter, information about the property, you know, some comms or some, I don't know, something basic, like not too big of a packet, but I would let them know that I don't work for the bank and that I would love to help them.
And they have options.
And they have options to please call me so that we can go
let me
over
ask you
them.
this, we'll take a poll.
Sure.
So Lisa shows up with a folder like, you know,
It was
saying
like
you
maybe
have-
6-7
saying you
pages, it
have
wasn't that
options,
crazy.
right? Saying you have options. He knocks on all three of your doors. I knock on all three of your doors, and mine's simple, call me for an all-cash offer. Text me, I'll let you know the price I have in mind.
I like that approach.
Who are you gonna call first? Just to see what price what
People
price,
don't like to wait.
what price, I wanna know.
Simple.
So, remember what I said earlier? The first one at the negotiating table wins. He could be a very strong listing agent. If he sat down with you on a listing presentation, he will probably get the listing. But my goal is to get there before he does, so that you guys can listen to the offer that I have in mind. That's it. Why does everybody, you know, when somebody wants to sell their car, where's the first place they send? No, they go to like, what's that?
Car gurus.
Yeah, they'll send, they
get
put
the
online,
full
to get
credit
the
check,
cash, the
the,
cash offer, you know, on your car or whatever. I wanna know how much I can get for it, let me
Yeah.
see, boom, 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 so I put it on there, and then next thing you know, oh, your car is worth so much, and I'm like, well, that's it, right? But I always go there first. You do the same thing. I wanna hear what you have in mind, what price I have in mind, before I call him. So when I get there, if the price is too low for you, then what do I do as a listing agent? If I see you got time still, then I go into my listing presentation and I list you. Right? Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
You guys ready to make a lot of money?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Number 3 driver in our business, divorce filings. This is very high listing prone, right? Because 6 in 10 listing filings will sell. 6 in 10. So that means, you know what, when we were knocking at 100 doors and 2%, now I knock at 100 divorce filings and I get, 60. Why is everybody still going door to door to door? I don't know, right? And you could get this data. You guys all would have access to data. It's just a matter of flipping that switch in your head saying, I'm gonna become listing dominant and I'm gonna target these specific homeowners, and that's all I'm gonna do for the rest of my career. Is just dominate the listing era, and I'm gonna focus on these drivers, and that's my business. Period. I got nothing better to do than to go door knock. When I started again, I door knocked 8 hours a day, just going door knocking, door to door to door to door to door. Imagine if anybody now door knocked 8 hours a day to these specific drivers. What would their business be like? Izzy always tells me, Dad, I'm gonna get out of title. I'm just gonna start knocking on these people's doors. There's a lot more money in that. And I'm gonna tell you, there's a lot more money in that. He's not gonna do title, by the way. I know too much, right? But divorce.
We need them too much.
But divorces, think about that. Think about that. Divorces will list not with somebody they know. Because when you have a husband and wife, if a sister has somebody in real estate, the husband says, oh, hell no, we're not using your sister. Or the other one, no, hell no, we're not using them. And they hear you come knocking on the door, hey neighbor, you got a minute? Just wanted to stop by because there was a property that just sold here in the area for top dollar. I was just wondering, for the right price, would you consider selling yours?
Do they ever ask like which property, or is that like a common line everybody uses? to
Well,
get
obviously
their foot in the
you
door?
are gonna.
Be prepared, okay.
you're gonna have
Something that recently sold in that area.
But the best thing is, obviously something that recently sold in your area, open houses are great to leverage. Hey neighbor, just wanted to stop by. You got a minute? Just wanted to stop by because we're holding an open house here in the area. And I think we priced it just right. Wanted to know if you want some information on it. If you're
What do they
gonna-
say no?
You don't want information
No,
on it?
okay.
Great, you know what, that's fine. What I can do is throw it at you and run away. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
That, no, say, hey, that's great. You know what, I can totally appreciate that. But you know what, I'm also looking for property here in the area because depending on who the driver is. Are you interested in express all cash offer on the property?
If the numbers make sense, sure.
Great, why don't we do this? And then I would go into that script. So don't be quick to say no, right?
Okay, thank you.
Because, and you gotta really think about it. When I say, and I'll hold a flyer like in my hand. I'm not gonna force it on you. Or as I'm saying is, I'll be like still handing it to him, right? Because at the end of the day, they have a need. They want information. They just don't know, right? So I'm gonna be handing it to you as I'm talking to you. Would you like more information on it? When you're handing somebody and have the biggest smile on your face, it's hard for them to not grab it from you at least, right? So just hand it to them and then say, you know what, I'd love to see you there. And guess what? It might not tell you there, but if they show up to your open house, guess what you got?
Believe.
A hell of a listing, I guarantee you. Right? How many listings do people get through their open houses where you have a seller that shows up? It happens.
Yeah.
So now imagine if you're inviting all the possible listings in the neighborhood to show up to your open house. Right? So divorce is great driver for business, guys. Number 4, expired listings and for sale by owners. 40% chance of relisting once they expire. That means 40 out of every 100 will relist. The majority call them. But you are different. You're gonna knock on the door. Why? Because I wanna have a conversation with you, because they will do business with who they like and who they trust. If they have a conversation with you, you're already likable. If you're doing business in the neighborhood, now they're gonna trust you.
So how would that conversation be if it's an expired listing and you're knocking on my door?
Again, I leverage everybody the same.
Okay.
Hey neighbor, got a minute?
Sure.
Just wanna stop by, cause we just sold a property in the area. Hopefully it's something that somebody did sell from Big Block, you know.
Of course.
Just wanted to stop by because we just sold a property here in the area and we were actually able to get top dollar for it. So I just wanted to stop by to see if for the right price you consider selling yours.
I don't know if the market is good to sell though.
Really? Because we just sold this one. We actually got, you know, good money for it.
I wonder
Yeah.
why.
Well, I mean, I could share some information with you on the property. Is that something that would interest you?
I don't have to sign anything, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
Sure.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I would just go into having a conversation with him. But the thing is, you know what? We're all chismosos. You know, we like the chisme. Like, if for whatever reason somebody, because nobody knocks on my house, for whatever reason somebody knocks on my door and says they either just listed, just sold, or something, which one? What house was it? I'm gonna have that conversation with them. Because they're not making it about me.
Correct.
So I'm not like, hey, you want to sell your house? Hey, you want to sell your house? You'd be like, who the hell's in the hell? You want to sell your house? No, it's leveraging something.
That happens.
So it's once you get into the conversation and if they answer you with what property was it, how much was it, they just started a conversation with you. And that's my ultimate goal, is to have a conversation with these people. That make sense? Again, who are we targeting? So the first 4 drivers, you guys, if you look at them, notice the defaults, affidavit of death, divorces, and expired listings. The action, knocking on doors.
Motivation.
So what do? You go into Title Toolbox, you grab all these leads, put them in an app or route planner, and guess what? You go visit them. This one is gonna be a notice of default. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna knock 2 doors to the left. So make sure that they don't think I'm just going right to their house. 2 houses to the left, I'm gonna knock on that one, 2 to the right, get in my car. I'm gonna go to the next one, maybe the next one's the closest one is an affidavit of death. I'm gonna do the same thing. Then I'm gonna go to the next one. Oh, this one's a divorce filing. I'm gonna go to that one. And then, oh, you see what I'm saying? So within a day, you have so many actual doors that you knocked on, right? But how many good conversations did you have?
I have a question for you.
Sure.
You work,
This business, right? Doesn't matter. Just come across the deal. You'll stumble across deals. Yeah, I remember when I first got into this business, the first transaction I got, seriously, I always say the story, I looked like a little cholito, cause I was 19 years old, I had my fake little mustache going and knocking on doors, trying to become listing dominant, right? And I'll tell you what, this guy, and I used to door knock South Central, I used to door knock those areas, believe it or not. Guy opens the door and then I'm having this conversation with him. And then he goes, how many houses have you sold? Cause obviously he saw me really young, and I said, well, you know, I've sold several houses. I haven't been in the business that long. I couldn't lie and be like, oh, a lot of years. I'm really like you, like I'm 42 years old. But you know what the guy told me? He goes, I'm gonna give you your first deal. I'm gonna list with you. That was it. That you fall across deals like that.
But you created your luck.
You,
By showing
that's
up.
what I'm trying to say is, if you don't show up, you're not gonna do anything. And just like Chris said, people have information, but they fail to use it. They fail to actually be aggressive with what's actually working out there. There's so many distractions in this business. Nobody's that hungry anymore. I was hungry as hell. I was gonna do it because I was gonna do it. I didn't care how I was gonna do it, but I was gonna figure out how I could be 19 years old and try to figure out how I could make some money in this business. And let me tell you, 2 years in, at 21 years old, I'm trying to figure out how I could drive my Corvette right into somebody's, living room just to let them know how successful I was, right? Just because it was no longer about age. It was just about me working that hard and trying to be successful. So, again, how many people do it? Like, very few. But you know what? The ones that do it, very successful. Think about that. Very few do it, but those that do it, very, very highly successful. And it just boggles my mind to see why more people don't do it. And then yet, they'll call you 6 months later and say, what's working now? Like, dude.
The basics never
Right? Like, what happened? What happened to you? Did you fall asleep in the class, right? And the last one I actually want to go over, you guys, is tired landlords. Tired landlords. These are absentee owners that have owned their property for over 20 years. So not only is a tired landlord or the landlord tired, the house is tired too, right? So guess what? This is another investor-friendly deal. Why? Because you have a landlord on one end that's a little up there in age, right? And you have a property out there that hasn't been, landlords do the minimal, right? Whereas if it's our residence, we want to paint it every once in a while, we want to spruce it up but if it's an investment, you're like, oh my God, you want to paint it again? What's wrong with you, right? You don't do that kind of stuff. So the property's tired. Great investment, great. Why? Because again, over 20 years, and when I say 20 plus, it could be 30 years, 40 years, right? People are motivated to sell. They're ready to retire. They're ready to get out. Okay, you know what? I bought this investment for 100 grand. It's worth 500 now. Oh, I'll pay the capital gains, right? That's one reason why they sell. Number two reason why they sell is the depreciation factor. So you have the seller that is tired of being a landlord and doesn't want to do it, but then you have your savvy investor that says, hey, I could only depreciate this asset for 27 years. I can't depreciate it anymore. I have to sell it and replace that asset so I can continue to depreciate it. So there's multiple reasons why these people will go ahead and do that. But a great source of business, And yes, on Title Toolbox, you can get cell phone numbers to these absentee owners, emails to these absentee owners, so that then you can have that conversation. Hey neighbor, just calling you up because we just sold a property in the area, or a property just sold in the area near your investment here in Corona. Just wondering, for the right price, would you consider selling your investment?
If the absentee owner is out of state, can you prepare a letter with that verbiage? Because I have letters for absentee owners, but this one's pretty short to the point, and I like what you said, near your investment property.
So let me ask you this. when I say call, because obviously you're not gonna be able to knock on these absentee owners. right?
Correct.
So, what you do is you make a phone call. You're the absentee owner.
Yeah.
1 in 10 will answer. You answer it, great, I have that conversation with you.
But let's say I don't.
You don't answer. I already have a pre-made text message. So as soon as you hang up, as soon as the phone hangs up, or as soon as I hang up, I shoot him a message. Hey neighbor, the reason for my call was we just sold a property near your investment here in Corona. I was just wondering if for the right price you'd consider selling yours. Text me back if you wanna know the price I have in mind. I want you to think about the power of a text message when it's following a phone call. It's a lot more powerful than a spam text message, because that call was intended for you and you didn't answer, so now I'm gonna try to get a hold of you through a text message. It's about as powerful as that note that I was leaving.
Correct.
It's almost the same thing,
Mhm.
right? That's power. So no, I don't put them in my dialer, I don't call. Why? Because there's only so many of them anyways. So I'm gonna call them one at a time. If they answer, awesome.
Great.
If not, copy paste.
And you have that text and you
Yeah.
can send it to us?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
So the whole thing is this, guys. You guys have opportunities. A lot of opportunities. A lot of opportunities to make money on listings, but a lot of opportunities to find deals as well. And there's a lot of reasons to become listing dominant in this business. So don't get caught up in the race of, I love helping families find their living, their house. I'm a matchmaker. I'm a whatever it is that you guys think to talk about. Think about how it is that how I can use my time to the best return of my investment, right? Because we invest time or money,
Correct.
right? So if I'm gonna invest time, I better make sure that I'm getting the best return on it. It's like me and you could go door knocking one day, but you take off to this wonderful neighborhood because it's a wonderful neighborhood and everybody there thinks it's a wonderful neighborhood too, and you're knocking on doors at 2% turnover. But me, I've already sat down with Izzy, I already got my game plan on how to get my leads. Boom, boom, I punch them in, and we both take off for 4 or 5 hours. You're having conversations with 2%ers, and I'm having conversations with 20+%.
30 plus, yeah.
Who's gonna have a better outcome? Now imagine doing this 200 and something days out of the year. You think you'll stumble across deals?
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. And that's what we're in this business to do. We're in business to put ourselves in a position to win. And if you think otherwise, then you're gonna wake up one day and say, what the heck? You're gonna call your employer back, and I hate to be this rough, but you're gonna call your employer back and say, hey, you still got that room for me over there?
You still have the position?
Yeah, is the position still hasn't been filled? You see what I'm saying? So you gotta put yourself in these positions. So get with Izzy on a one-on-one. He'll sit down with you if you haven't you sat down with any of these yet?
No, not yet.
And that way he can share with you how to get the data through Title Toolbox and actually get to work on it right away. And the reason I say right away is because guess what? Time
This money.
is a dream killer. If you don't take action right away, you're not
Because we
gonna take,
think we have time.
you're not gonna take action. If you wait a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks,
We always say
4 weeks from now, you're gonna be
tomorrow.
listening to somebody else saying, hey, social media is the way to be, and you don't have to go door knocking, you don't have to go there. You know what? Do it, do the prospecting. I love social media too. I'm on social media a lot. But I understand where my business company comes from. My business comes from like this.
Conversations.
Personal people, personal. If I just did all social media, all I do is be famous, but I wasn't, trust me, I know a lot of social media clients that are awesome at social media. But man, I don't know how they make money, but they ain't closing deals. They're awesome. They got a ton of followers. They sure as hell play the game like they're big business. But I know they don't close it. Right? So think about that. Let's get started. Let's make some money in this business. We got into this business to make money.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, you reap
What you said.
what you sow. Alright, any questions?
No, I just would like to, see if you can repeat the script. I'm recording this class and I wanna have it in there, so I start practicing at home.
So could you repeat the door knocking script that you said?
Just say, hey neighbor, got a minute? And the reason I use that is because why? Everybody's got their guard up. So I always wanna say, hey neighbor, got a minute? Did I catch you at a bad time? And then if they say yes or no, it doesn't matter. I'll be quick about it. I just wanted to stop by because we just sold a property here in the neighborhood for top dollar. I was just wondering if for the right price, you'd consider selling yours. That's it. And wait to see what they say.
And then how would you bring the cash script?
So then if they say, no, we're not interested, again, if it's an investment friendly, then I'd be like, well, you know what? I am working with a group of investors that are looking to purchase property here in the area, and we're looking to purchase it all cash. Would you consider an express all cash offer from us? And if they say no to that again, say, well, I'll tell you what I can do. Why don't you give me your number? Even though you're not ready to listen to a cash offer, what I can do is I can still send it to you. That way you can hold it in your back pocket and you'll know at least what your property is worth by somebody right now that can actually offer you cash.
That's powerful.
So remember, it's not about strike one, strike two, strike three. I'm trying to get you. And that's why when I talk about investor friendly deals, I tag them because these are the ones that are gonna make you money.